So now let's start with the next concept. How does we share a record to the public? Yesterday we have understand about the manual sharing process. So for that, this was the diagram I told you that whenever you set OWD option of any object to be private, the sharing mechanism is active. So if now in the interview if they ask you about the sharing, what does it means by the record sharing? You need to start from this concept. If they ask you about the sharing, what does a record sharing means, or what are the different modes of sharing? How could you share a record to a different users or a public group? Actually, you need to take a step back, and you need to start it from here. Remember this, remember this. Whenever they ask about you, whenever they ask you about the sharing, they ask you what are the different modes of sharing, how could you share a record to any particular user or for a public group. You need to take a step back, एक step पीछे आएंगे हम लोग, and then we will start the concept from here that whenever the OWD option of any object is set to be the private. If we set the OWD option of any object as a private, then only sharing mechanism is activated. So you need to start your description over here. You need to start describing this from here itself. So you need to tell that, okay, whenever we set the OWD option of any object as to be the private, then only sharing mechanism is active. This should be your first sentence. While explaining this should be your first sentence. And then you could say that there are three different modes of sharing. There are three different modes. There are three different ways, whatever you wanted to say. So there are three different ways of sharing a record, right? What is this? Manual sharing, automated sharing, and the Apex sharing. These are the three different ways. These are the three different methods by which we can share a record. We can share a record to whom? We can share a record either to a single user or to the multiple users also. Whenever we wanted to share the record to multiple users, we actually need to form the public groups. That is what you are going to learn. Okay, that is what we are going to learn right now. So once again, let's understand this. Once again, let's make a revision so that you will be absolutely clear with the concept of sharing. So whenever if someone asks you in the interview, what does it mean by sharing a record? How could you share a particular record of any object to multiple users or rather a single user? You need to say that for the sharing mechanism, first of all, the consideration is what? The object OWD, that particular object, if it would be account, a contact, opportunity, any standard, any customer. If I wanted to share the record, first of all, the object OWD is set to be what? Set to be private. Then only you could share the record. Because see, if the object OWD is public, then it is by default shared to everyone. Yes, it's by default shared to everyone. Here you actually don't require to make the use of sharing, right? Because if the OWD is set to be the private, if the OWD is set to be the public, then public access means it is by default accessible to every user. Now, where is the concept of sharing? It actually doesn't require, not at all required. Sharing is something which is being activated, which is required when you make the record to be the private. If you make the record to be the private, then it is only accessible to whom? It is only accessible to the record owner and to the immediate manager. Apart from these two people, no other can access. Now, if we wanted to provide access to, apart from these two users, I wanted to provide access to few more users, then only there is a concept of sharing mechanism. So understand this, understand this. If the OWD is private, public, there is no concept of sharing. Why? Because the record is already shared. There's no meaning to share it once again, right? And the record is already accessible to every user. What the new you can do in that, right? So this is one. This is whenever they ask you this in the interview, always remember you need to take a step back and start the explanation from here. And the OWDs of any object is set to be the private. There are 9 different options in the OWD. Out of that, private. When the OWD of any object is set to be the private, then only sharing mechanism is active. And now there are 3 different modes of sharing. We can share a record manually. We can share a record automatically, and we can, with the help of the Apex sharing also, we could perform the sharing. How to perform the manual sharing? Manual sharing, there is a button, sharing button, on the detail layout of the page of that particular record is a button called a sharing button. With the help of this button, we could perform the manual sharing. Okay. Now we are going to understand about the automated sharing. For the automated sharing, you must write down the sharing. And then after once we have go into the development, we start writing the triggers. If you know the triggers concept, you can also perform the Apex sharing. We could share a record to whom? We could share a record either to a single user, to the multiple users. If I wanted to share it to more than one user, I first of all add them in a public group. If I wanted to share one record to 5 users, I first create a public group, add those 5 users inside the group, and then I could share it to them. This is the way, you know, this is the way. It is as simple as creating your WhatsApp group. See, you add so many users inside a WhatsApp group, and then whenever you share something on the group, it is actually shared to everybody. All of them inside the group can now access that particular message. This is as simple concept as you create a WhatsApp group. This is what. Whenever if I wanted to share a record, at a time if I wanted to share a record to multiple users, what should I do? I should, first of all, create a group, add all of the users to whom I wanted to share, add all of them to the group, and then share the record to group. Share that particular record to group. That is now will be accessible to all of the users, those who are inside the group, those who are the member of this group. What is the level of access that I could give? There are two different level of access, read only and read write. With this permission, read only the second person to whom the record has been shared. He can only read it. Now with the read write permission, he can perform reading as well as the editing of the record. But in both of the cases, the person cannot delete the record. If you wanted to delete the record, you must be owner of that record. You must be the owner of that record. If you wanted to delete the record, then you must be the owner. Because this is a permission which is available only with the owners. Apart from the owner, no one else can delete the record. That is right. So this is one diagram. When I want every one of you create your own diagram and just learn this. With this diagram, the entire concept of sharing has been cleared. Entire concept of sharing is clear. And let me tell you one more thing. We are about to learn the automated sharing. We are about how to perform the automated sharing by writing the sharing rules. And see, by writing the sharing rule, you can actually share the record to multiple users. Only. That means with sharing rule, you can only share the record to public groups. The sharing rules with the automated sharing, you could only share the record to public groups. There's no provision in the sharing rule that you could share the record to a single user. Yeah, the manual sharing, with the sharing button, right now also, we are going to start with the manual sharing. If a public group banaunga, I'll share a record manually to the public group. So public is manual sharing se fayda kya hai? What is the benefit? With the manual sharing, you could share the record to single user, even you share the record to multiple users. So manual sharing provide you that provision. But if अभी एक थोड़ा सा एक बात निकली है, आगे का स्टेप है, लेकिन चलो अभी समझ लो उसको. No problem in that. If I start, if I write down the sharing rules, that means if the automated sharing, if I wanted to share a record, there's only one possibility. You could share a record to public. There's no such possibility with the automated sharing that you could share the record to single users. No, it is only possible with the manual sharing. Now, once you understand this, once you know this, that with the automated sharing or rather with the sharing rules, I could only share record to multiple users. And there is no such provision like I could share a record to single user. They ask you this in the interview. Probably I have. If using sharing rules, we need to share a record to single user. How can we achieve this? How can we achieve this? So, using the sharing rules, that means using the automated sharing rules means what? Automated sharing. Using the automated sharing mechanism. If we wanted to share a record to a single user, because by default this is not possible. By default this is not possible. If I wanted to share a record using the sharing rule, using the automated sharing, using the automated sharing, if I wanted to share a record, there's only one possibility. There's only one possibility that I could share it to the public. But now they ask you this in the interview also. They ask you this in the interview. If using the automated sharing, if I wanted to share a record to a single user, not manual sharing, using the automated sharing, if I wanted to share a record to a single user, how could I perform this? How could I perform this? Now, I am allowing you guys to unmute yourself. Now, anyone have any guessings for that? Actually, the concept is very simple. Any guessings? Any guessings regarding this? If using the sharing rule, if I wanted to share a record to a single user, how could I do that? Any guessings? Yes, guys. Any guessings?
Sir, we will add only one user in public group.
Exactly. Exactly. Excellent, Prabhu. We will create a group, but then we will add only one user. That user who we wanted to share. So although we create a group, एक public group बनाएंगे, and we will add only one user inside that, and then we will share the record to that particular group. और उस group में कितने लोग हैं? एक ही लोग हैं. So indirectly we have shared the record. So this is the answer. Absolutely right, Rahul. So whenever if I wanted to share a record, to the single user with the help of automatic sharing, what should I do? I create a group. I should create a public group, and that only add that particular single user to whom we wanted to share the record. Only add that user as a member of that group, and then now you can share the record to the user. It will be indirectly shared to him only, right? This is the way. Okay, chalo. So now I'm going to tell you about the public group, how to create the public group, how to add the multiple users, and with the manual sharing, yesterday what we have done with the manual sharing, we have shared a record to single user. Now you will understand this, the same mode of sharing in a manual sharing, how to share the record to the public groups. After this is being completed, we will start with the automatic sharing. Right? चलो start करते हैं फिर आज से कंसर्न रिकॉर्डिंग शुरू किया ना yes of course. So does it means by a public group first of all? Public group is what? It's a group of people. It's a group of users inside the organization. How to set up the public group? This is the navigation. If you wanted to know where these all groups are stored, so inside the Salesforce there is an object called as group. There's an object called as group inside the Salesforce. There's an object user to store every details about the users. There is an object files having the details of the profile. Then there is an object called as user license, where actually all information related to license is being stored. Similarly, store the related information regarding the group. There is an object called as group. It's a standard object. This is the object ID. Right? So if I wanted to set up a group, this is the navigation. Should follow the navigation, go to the setup, go to the administrator, and inside the administrator, inside the manage user, you have an option to set up the public group. Okay. Now we will solve this use case first. We will create a public group with the name called as Hyderabad Sales Group. Let me just copy this. I'm going to create a public group. Its name is Hyderabad Sales Group. Then I am going to add it two users. One of them is customer user. Second is testing user. Now, these two users will be the member of this particular group, Hyderabad Sales Group. Okay, Hyderabad Sales Group. These two will be the member of this group, customer and the testing user. So let's create a user first of all. Sorry, let's create the public group first of all. So go to the setup menu, go to the administrator menu. Okay, and inside the manage users, you have something called as public. See, this is the option. Inside the manage users, inside the administrator menu, the manager user, and inside the manager you have this option of public groups. You have this option of groups. Right? Click on this. So you see, right now we don't have any as group because we have not created, and there is no concept of having this standard groups. There's no concept of having this standard group. So obviously we don't have any groups right now. I need to create one of the group. So with this new button, we are going to create a new. Select it. Okay. I give the label. I already have copied this. Hyderabad sales group. Just press the tab, and the API name is already created. Now, if you are creating a group, see, if you are creating a group, you must add. You must add the users inside the group. You must add the group members. That is the users. So from where you can take the user, from where you can add the, you can add the user from any other group. You can add the people, you can add the user depending upon their roles. If I wanted to create a group of all CEO inside my organization, all CEO, so it will be a group of CEO. If I wanted to create a group of all COO, CFO and CTO, so all of them, अभी हमने तो एक user create किया, but actual organization में there are multiple CEOs. There are multiple CEOs. And then there are multiple CTOs also. So depending upon the role also, you can even add the members. This is the second possibility, that you can get the users from group, you can get it from the roles and internal and the external subordinate, and you can get it from the users also. If I click on the user, all users from my organization is listed. So I'm creating a group of Hyderabad sales group where I need to add customer user and the testing user. And as a member of this group, I want these two people, customer and the testing. So user customer, let's add him, and the testing user, let's add him. So as a group, as a member of this group, I have selected these two. Just leave this delegated administration. Just leave this. Grant access using hierarchies. I'll tell you what does it mean. Grant access using hierarchies. Let's save it. Okay, so we created one of the public group. Its name is Hyderabad Sales Group, and we have two people inside. Two users. Now, what I wanted to see, create an account record by login into the development users account. We'll go to the development users. We will create one more record. And then we are going to share this to Hyderabad sales group with read-only access. That means I will going to log in into the development user, and I'll create a new record, a new account record over there. And this time I would share this to the group, public group. Which group? Hyderabad sales group. So if I share it to the Hyderabad sales group, this record which I'm now going to create, if I'll share to this group, this is going to be shared automatically with customer, user, and testing user. Why? Because these are the member of this group. It's a very obvious concept, right? It's a very obvious concept. If I created the group, added these two people inside this group. Now, if I share anything to that group, it's going to be, it's going to be visible to both of them, right? Just to verify manual sharing. This I'm going to the manual sharing. So let's go to the development users account. And here, here, let me just log in into the development users account. Let's go to the account record once again. Create up to 3, 1, 2, 3. I created it. Create development user record number 4. Development user record number 4. Okay. Development user record number 4. That is what I'm creating right now. It's a customer, and then industries, government, and for the rating is hot. Ownership is public. Active status is yes, and the priority is high. Save that. So I created a record, development user, record number 4. Now let's share the record. Let's share the record. Filhal, this record is now visible to whom? User developer, right? Because he's the owner. Now I wanted to share this record, so add it. Okay. You have all these options. Yesterday also you have this option. If you wanted to share it manually to single user, go with this option user. and with this you could select कि आपको किस किस को select करना है ना. Now right now I just wanted to say, I just wanted to share this to a public group. Which group? I just now created a group, Hyderabad Sales Group. Right? There are two members, customer and a testing. Customer user and a testing user are the member of this group. So let me select this group, add it. What kind of access I want to give? Read only. Read only access to this group. That means both of the person will have the read only access. And let me save the read. So now this record number 4, is being visible to Hyderabad Sales Group, the read only access. And why it is available to them? Because of the manual sharing. So let me now log out from here. And let's go to this user. Testing user and the customer user are the members. So let me first go to the customer users login. Go to the accounts. Go to all accounts. And see, you have this record number 4 over. It is not directly shared to this user. It was not directly shared to this user. Actually, it was shared to the group. And this user is a member of that group. So now he is having the access. What kind of access? Read only access. If we try to perform any editing, we will get this error of insufficient view. If we try to delete, we will also get the same. He will also get the same error, insufficient. What he can do, guys, he can only read the data. He can only see the data. That's it. This mode is read only. So let me log out from here. So yeah, customer is having the access. Now let's go to the testing. Testing is also a member of Hyderabad Sales Group. So let's go to the account and then click on the all accounts. You see now the record is also available to. This is the way, I could share manually a record to multiple users. This is the way to share the record manually to the multiple users. For what is this concept? If I wanted to share it to multiple users, I first of all need to create a public group, add the members inside the group, and then share a record. Share the record with the sharing button. Share the record to this particular group. So it's going to be shared to that multiple users, whatever the access you will provide. Okay, so this was the concept. Now let's understand the next concept. Let's start with the next concept. Let's move on to the automated sharing. Let's now move on to the automated sharing. What does it mean by automatic sharing? So automated sharing, automated sharing is being created with the help of sharing rules. You need to create the sharing rules. You need to write down the sharing rules. What are the sharing rules? Let's start the concept. So with the sharing rules, the sharing rules, the manual sharing, I could say share each record. I could share each record to a single user, to the public user also. Now there is a sharing button for this. There's a sharing button. Now, if I automatically want to share a record with the certain conditions, if the certain conditions met, like it was like it is also a business automation process. Like you have done this in the workflows and this your process builder also. With the certain conditions, if we have understood this, long back, like we have actually learned, the workflow is merely a combination of two things: the event and the action. So actions depend on the event. That is what we have done. You see, in the interview also, if they ask you what is a workflow, you need to say that it's a business automation tool. And then it's a combination of two things, event and the actions. So based on the event, the action is going to fire. If there's an event, there is an action. If there is no event, obviously there is no action. So we actually doesn't perform anything manually in the workflows and the process builder. They are fired based on the conditions. So if the certain conditions are met, what is the event? There are three types of event: created and every time it is updated, and then created and every time it is updated meeting the subsequent criteria. So these are the three conditions. So based on the condition, the action is going to fire. If the condition met, action will be fired automatically. Now here also, see, here also, if I wanted to share a record, automatically, based on certain condition, if the conditions met, I want this record should be done. Why क्यों involve रहा हूँ हर बार sharing के लिए? Why should I be involved every time? If I have something in an automatic process, if I have an automated process for this, why should we involve user manually to click that particular sharing button every time if you wanted to share the record? What is the need of that? Try to automate your process as far as possible. If you have this automated tool, go with that. Go with that. This is what the concept of CRM. So yes, just a second. So if you have this provision of record sharing, if you have this provision to share a record automatically, why should we go with the master share, right? So if I wanted to share a record, there must be certain conditions for that. If I wanted to fire a workflow, there must be certain conditions. If I wanted to, go with the process builder, again, there must be certain conditions. So record sharing with the automatic is only done if the conditions are met, right? If the conditions are met, then only the record is shared. So that is why the sharing rules have two different types of conditions. I'll tell you that once. First of all, let's start with this. अपन रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग कर रहे हैं. पहले शेयरिंग रूल बताऊंगा, फिर कंडीशंस बताऊंगा, ये कंडीशन है, वो कंडीशन है, ये मेट होना चाहिए. उसके पहले ही आप समझ लो एक चीज, अगर आप कोई भी चीज ऑटोमेटिकली करना चाहते हो ना, इधर इट कुड बी योर वर्क फ्लोज, इधर इट कुड बी योर प्रोसेस बिल्डर. आप वो वर्क फ्लो से आप ईमेल सेंड करना, प्रोसेस बिल्डर से ईमेल सेंड करना, सर्टेन कंडीशंस आर मेट, then only this rule is going to be fired. Same with the concept of here also. अगर आप रिकॉर्ड को ऐसा ऑटोमेटिकली शेयर करना चाहते हैं, you must write down the conditions. You must write down the condition, and based on the conditions, if the conditions met, if the condition becomes true, then only the record is going to be shared, right? Then only the record is going to be shared. तो वो कंडीशंस कैसी दो तरह की होती हैं, आगे आते हैं उसके ऊपर. वो मैंने वो बात की थी, मैंने पहले पढ़ाई आप, ताकि आपके दिमाग में ना इन द स्टार्टिंग इट मेक इट वेरी क्लियर कि ऑटोमेटिक शेयरिंग ऐसे अपने आप नहीं हो जाती. देयर इज अ कंडीशंस, देयर आर कंडीशंस टू बी चेक्ड behind, and if only if the conditions are met, then only the sharing is performed, otherwise not, right? Now chalo aage badhte hain. Now using the sharing rules, because automated sharing is done by the sharing, manual sharing is done by the sharing button, but automated sharing is done by writing the sharing rules. So using the sharing rules, to whom I could share a record to a public group, the roles and the internal subordinates, and to the portal means external subordinate. But see, the number 5th option is not there. That means you cannot share a record to a single user with the help of sharing rules. With the help of sharing rule, there is no such option to share a record to a single user. The option number 5th is missing. Why? Because it is not at all allowed. That is what I was telling you. That is what I told you, that if I wanted to create, if I wanted to share with the automated sharing, if I wanted to share a record to single user, how could do that? Let's create a public group, add only one member, and then share that record to the public. If you want to share it to a single user, this is the will. This is one of the workaround to do that. If you want to share a record, so there's no option to share a record to a single user with the help of sharing rules. But yes, we can do that. We have a way. We need to create a public group where there will be only one member, and we then share the record to that member. Okay. So we cannot directly share the record to a single user. Indirectly, we can do that. How? Create a public group with only one user inside there, and then share it to them. Then share it to the नोट्स में काफी कुछ लिखा हुआ है, काफी सारा तो मैं भी नहीं पढ़ता हूँ, लेकिन आप पढ़ लिया करो यार, है ना. बिकॉज कैसे एक्सप्लेनेशन में हो जाता है, सो आई यूजुअली डोंट, ऐसे लाइन बाय लाइन तो मैंने आज तक नहीं पढ़ा, बट हाँ नोट्स में काफी सारी चीजें, कई सारे पॉइंट्स मैं मिस कर देता हूँ. हाँ, सो इट्स ऑलवेज बेटर दैट यू गाइस शुड रीड एवरीथिंग, है ना. अभी आप लर्निंग की स्टेज पे, आपकी ट्रेनिंग चल रही है, मेरी ट्रेनिंग नहीं चल रही है. सो यू शुड लर्न एवरीथिंग, यू शुड लर्न एवरीथिंग. तो आप थोड़ा सा ना पढ़ लिया करो. इवन आई डोंट नो कि मैंने ये ऑलरेडी लिख रखा है. चलो अच्छी बात है. नेवर वी शेयर द रिकॉर्ड क्या है, create the group of the specific. ठीक है, ये तो मैं आपको बता ही रहा हूँ सभी. See, if I wanted to set up, if I wanted to set up the sharing rules, so this is the navigation. This is the navigation. But यहाँ पे ना एक चीज है, कुछ पॉइंट्स मैं हाईलाइट कर देता हूँ. I need to highlight few points over. There are few points that I need to highlight. There are few points I need to highlight it over here. ये थोड़ा सा मैं डिफरेंस करवाने वाला हूँ. If I wanted, if I wanted to share a record automatically, if I wanted to share a record automatically with the sharing rule, there are few considerations. The first is we need to decide to whom the record should be shared. And आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि record किसको share करना है, पहली चीज. Second, what are the conditions to be verified before the record is shared? And the third, what is the level of access to be granted? What is the level of access to be granted to the people, the group, whatever. Then level of access means read only, read write, read write. Now, based on these three analysis, if you know everything, if you know everything before, if you know all this, that means you know to whom we need to share the record. You know it. आपको कहाँ share करना है, कौन से group को share करना है. You already know this. Then you know what are the conditions that should be verified, and you know what the level of access. So if you know everything in before, then go with the sharing, go with the automated sharing. ठीक है. अब ये तीन चीजें याद रखो, तीन चीजें जो हाईलाइट करी है इसको याद रखो, क्योंकि आगे में चल के एक मैं डिफरेंस बताने वाला हूँ. ठीक है, वहां पे आपको ये तीनों पॉइंट फिर से रिवाइज होने वाले. चलो आगे देखते हैं. सो नाउ शेयरिंग रूल्स जो हम लिखते हैं ना, शेयरिंग रूल्स जो हम लिखते हैं वो ऑब्जेक्ट पे रहता है. अभी आपको समझ जाएगा. डोंट, एवरी ऑब्जेक्ट हैव इट्स ओन sharing rule. Account have a separate sharing rule. Lead have a separate sharing. Contact, every object have a set of sharing rules. What you can write. Multiple sharing rules भी आप लिख सकते हो हर किसी के. ठीक है, तो वो मैं अभी सिखाने वाला हूँ आपको based on this navigation. और एक यूज केस ले लेंगे, वो क्लियर हो जाएगा. डोंट वरी. So you go to the admin, the setup administrator security controls. Under the security you will have something called as sharing settings. ठीक है, देखते हैं इसको. बट देन जो मैं आपसे कह रहा था कि there are certain rules, there are certain criterias. वो क्राइटेरिया क्या है? एक है ओनर बेस्ड शेयरिंग, दूसरा क्राइटेरिया बेस्ड शेयरिंग. ठीक है, ओनर बेस्ड शेयरिंग और दूसरा क्राइटेरिया बेस्ड शेयरिंग. और तीसरा एक और नया ऐड हुआ अभी, गेस्ट यूजर एक्सेस. तो ये भी क्राइटेरिया बेस्ड शेयरिंग है. तो इन शॉर्ट देयर आर थ्री क्राइटेरियाज और देयर आर टू क्राइटेरियाज. आप जैसा भी बोलो, ओनर बेस्ड शेयरिंग और क्राइटेरिया बेस्ड शेयरिंग. देयर आर ओनली टू क्राइटेरियाज, ओनर बेस्ड शेयरिंग और क्राइटेरिया बेस्ड शेयरिंग. ये होते हैं दो तरह के शेयरिंग रूल्स. अभी देख लो क्या आप, सब कुछ समझ जाएगा. तो क्रिएट अ शेयरिंग रूल, share the account record. I wanted to share the account record. I wanted to share the account record to the Hyderabad sales group. I already have created one of the group, the name called as Hyderabad sales group. And these are the two users, customers users and the testing users. These are the two users, customer user and the testing users, right? See, I wanted to share this record, account record to the Hyderabad sales group with the read-only access. Okay. When the record meets the certain conditions, So if the account industry is banking, if the rating is hot, and if the active status is yes, and if the ownership is public, these are the conditions. So if whenever I store, whenever I store any record inside the account object, if it meets with all these conditions, that means the industry is banking, rating is hot, active status is yes, and the ownership is public. If all these conditions met, the record will be automatically shared to the Hyderabad sales group, the read-only access. So I need to design that. Sharing rule. On which object I am designing? On the account. So I'm creating one of the account sharing. What is the rule type? Criteria based. Why criteria? Because before sharing, I need to evaluate all these. I don't need to check about the owner. I don't need about to check if this is the owner, share the record to this. This is not the case. Case is what? Based on these conditions. If you are imposing certain conditions, then it always is criteria based. If you are selecting it based on the owner, that if development user is the owner of the record, share it to whom? Share it to the manager. If testing user is the record, share it to the customer. If like this you are constructing, then this is called as owner based sharing. That is a separate thing. Right now we are dealing about what? If this criteria true, if this criteria true, if this criteria true, then share the record to whom? To this group. This is what? It's a criteria based sharing. Whenever we are checking for certain conditions, before the record is shared, if we are actually checking for certain conditions, then this type of sharing is called as what? Criteria based sharing. What is the second type? Owner based sharing. That means if record owner, if check for the record owner, if development user is the record owner, then share the record to testing user like this. That's a second concept. Call it to the owner based sharing. Okay. Chalo. Yeah. So let me do that. Let me go with this navigation. Go to the setup, administer security. Under the security, you have a direct link for the sharing settings. Okay, let's go with this. So inside the administer menu, there is a security control. In the security control, you have sharing. So आप OWD के लिए भी यहीं पर गए थे अभी. That time also I told you कि देखिए यहाँ पर आपको इसके अभी आप OWT के लिए आए हो, आपको एक और बार आना है. So when you come to this particular page, sharing settings, first is OW. First what you see is OW. And we have changed the OWT of account as to be what? Private. Then only the sharing mechanism was active, right? अब हम scroll करेंगे and will scroll it a little bit. तो हमको मिल जाएगा sharing. The second section is sharing. Now here you see for every object you can write down the sharing for the lead for the account. Let me just verify one. Let me before actually I see. Let me verify one. Just wanted to check it. I could see that there is an object book author C. Okay, book author C is having a master detail relationship with these two. Okay. Let's see about the candidate, hiring manager. Probably you can see this. See, I just wanted to show you that position is having a master detail relationship with the hiring manager. The position is the child object. Candidate is having book author is child object. The parent is book. Chalo. So see, if you scroll this page, you will come to this particular section of sharing rules. Now for the sharing rules, see, for every object there is a sharing. For the lead, if I wanted to write down the sharing rule for the lead, this is the section. For the account, this is the section. For opportunity, this is the section. For case, campaign, user, every standard object. And then after the standard is completed, that after at the end of list, this is very big list. At the end of list, you will have the name of your custom objects like author. Author is a custom object. For author, I could write down the sharing. Author is a parent. Author is a parent. For the book, I could write the sharing. Book is a parent. For the candidate, I could write the sharing. Candidate is child, but it is in master data. It's a lookup relationship. Candidate is a child. Candidate is a child in the lookup relationship. I'm revising one of the concepts. Customer, I have not taken. Hiring manager. Hiring manager is the parent. Sample, I have not. Now, where is position object? Where is position object? I don't see position object. I don't see book author object. There is no book author object. All started from here. The custom object is started from here, and it is ended over here. See, we have all objects, but I cannot see. I cannot see this object. Book author object is not there, and position object is not here. It is not here. There is no object position. There is no object book author. Why? Why? What is the reason? Yes, what is the reason? You know the answer. Just recall it. Yes, anyone? What is the reason why I don't have this book author, this object actually, book author object and the position object? I don't see the name of these two objects inside this list. Why? What is the reason? Yes, anyone? Just recall the concept. Yes, anyone? Just recall the concept. Yes, guys, come on.
So because they are child object and they are in master detail with the parent object like hiring manager and book and author, and book author object is the junction object. So that's why.
No. Indirectly, you are correct. I want a direct answer. Indirectly, it's okay. There is a direct answer I have given you. Okay, you forgot the concept. I will revise it. It will make you. It will make me slow. It will delay your training. But then we cannot bear. We both of us. Both of us cannot bear this loss. You cannot simply. I cannot let you simply forget the concept. Whenever you forgot anything, I must revise. When I revise, it will take time. It will take time. It will make my training slow. It will delay your training. This is all. This is the only thing which is going to happen. तो यही होगा अगर आप कंसेप्ट भूलोगे. मैं रिवाइज करूंगा, मुझे समय लगेगा. ये समय आपकी ट्रेनिंग पे काउंट होगा और हर बार जितनी बार मैं कंसेप्ट को पीछे ले जाके रिवाइज करूंगा उतनी बार आगे की चीजें कम. So during the difference between this master detail and lookup relationship, there was a point. अब कोई नहीं बोलेगा. अब मैं the sharing setting and security setting, master detail का point. The sharing and the security setting of child object depends on the parent. The sharing and security of the child object depends on them. If you remember this point, if you remember this point, मैं आज वही implementation आपको दिखा रहा हूं. There is no sharing rule. There is no exceptional sharing rule for position object. Why? Because the position is a child object and the master is, the parent is hiring manager, and the kind of relationship between the hiring manager and is master detail. So whatever the sharing rule you create for hiring manager, whatever the sharing rule you create for the hiring manager, whatever the sharing rule you create for the hiring manager is going to be applied for position also. There is no such provision that you could create a separate sharing rule for position. No. Why? Because it's a child object in master detail. And the sharing setting and the security setting of child depends on parent. That is why there is no option for the position object. Same with the concept of this also. Author, there is no separate setting for the author. You have a setting for book and you have a setting for author. Whatever the setting you create for the book or for the author is going to be applied for book author also. वो जो मैंने कहा था कि ये पॉइंट अभी याद कर लो, आगे चल के बताऊंगा. वक्त आज है. ये है वक्त. ये प्रूफ है आपके सामने. There is no separate setting for the child object who is in the master detail relationship with the parent. Although for the parent, I could see the setting, sharing setting, I could see it, right? This is the reason why you don't see the name of position and the name of book author inside the sharing setting. Although you have their parent's name, you have author book for the book author object, and you have hiring manager for the position object. This is the reason, guys. This is the reason. Now that point should be absolutely clear to everyone. There is no ambiguity. There is no ambiguity left. So this point is now absolutely clear inside your mind. Clear it, absolutely. Right? Go ahead. So, if I wanted to write down the sharing rule, the sharing rules are written on the object, and we have the list of every object over here. On those objects which I would like to create the sharing. All of the standard and all of the custom object whom the sharing rules can be created. This is the list. This is the list of all those objects, standard plus custom, on the object where sharing rule can be created. These are the objects. These are the objects on which I could create the sharing. Okay. Let me start with the account. Because I have a use case related to account. What is my use case? This is my use case. If the account industry is banking, rating is hot, active status is yes, and ownership is public. Let's share the let's share the record with this condition. Let's share the record with this condition to the Hyderabad sales group. Presently, Hyderabad sales group have 2 members. Presently, Hyderabad sales group have 2 members. Customer and the testing. These are the members. These are the members. And presently, there's only one record that is being shared to them. What is that record? Development user created a record number. What? 4 record. What I created? I forgot. What I created? Anyone? What I created? Which record I created? Record number what? Record number
4, sir.
Fourth, sir.
Record number 4, है ना?
Yes, sir.
Record number.
Group record.
So presently this record, only this record is being shared, है ना? ये record shared है किसको? दोनों को, टेस्टिंग वाले को और कस्टमर यूजर, बिकॉज वो ग्रुप का हिस्सा है. तो अभी उनके पास ना, हमने देखा, वेरीफाई करके बार बार नहीं जाते. अभी नो दैट कि अभी जो टेस्टिंग यूजर है और कस्टमर यूजर है, दोनों को ये रिकॉर्ड शेयर्ड है, अभी है ना, दोनों को ये रिकॉर्ड शेयर्ड है. ठीक है. अभी देखो इसके आगे क्या होता है. आई नो, आई डोंट नो अबाउट दिस रिकॉर्ड, बट हाँ, ये रिकॉर्ड अभी उनको शेयर्ड है. अभी क्या होता है इसके आगे? सो लेट मी राइट डाउन अ शेयरिंग रूल. अब मैं शेयरिंग रूल्स लिख रहा हूँ. दिस इज द वे टू इम्प्लीमेंट द ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग. तो यहाँ पर भी ऑब्जेक्ट लेवल पे जाना है. So I wanted to create a new sharing rules. So make new sharing rules. Let's give the name. Share the account records to the Hyderabad sales. अब ये पहले जो किया था ये स्क्रिप्ट है. Use to catch the fields. वही आ गया यहाँ पर. कुछ नहीं है. आप कोई भी नाम दे सकते. And you can copy the same and paste it in the description. What you want? What you want the rule type? If I'm selecting, if I'm creating a sharing rule, what should be the rule type? Based on owner, based on criteria, based on guest user. ये तीसरा ऑप्शन ना इसी में ऐड हुआ है. अभी ऐड हुआ है, इसके पहले नहीं हुआ. The third option was not there. या अभी के रिलीज में ऐड हुआ है. But this is also a criteria based thing. This is also criteria. Technically there are two things. Technically there are two things. First is owner based, second is criteria based. So अभी मुझे कैसा लेना? I need to select the criteria. So I have a criteria. I have certain conditions to be checked before sharing the record. What are those conditions? Why these are the conditions. एक तो अकाउंट की इंडस्ट्री होनी चाहिए, बैंकिंग. चलो पहला अकाउंट का इंडस्ट्री. इंडस्ट्री, अकाउंट की इंडस्ट्री शुड बी व्हाट? इक्वल्स टू बैंकिंग. पहली कंडीशन तो ये है. ठीक है. दूसरी कंडीशन, रेटिंग शुड बी हॉट. रेटिंग should equals to what? Rating should be hot. ये second condition. Okay. Third condition, active status should be yes. Active status should equals to what? Yes. और एक condition, ownership should be what? है ना? Ownership should equals to what? Should be. So if whenever I create any record inside the account, if it have all these conditions, if all these conditions are met, then I wanted to share to. I could share it to the public group or subordinate. See, there is no option for the user. Whenever using the sharing rule, if you wanted to share a record, you could share it to group, to the roles and internal subordinates, to the roles and internal plus external subordinates also. But there is no direct option to share a record to the user with the sharing. How to do that? That is already being discussed. And please everyone write down that. I don't know how much time you guys are going to remember. क्योंकि आप लोग का memory में test कर चुका हूँ कई बार. Right? So please write it down. If I wanted to share a record to a single user with the sharing rule, there is no direct option. There is no direct option. Indirectly, how could you that? Create a public group with a single user and then select it. Then select the group, and you can share the record to that group indirectly. That user indirectly with the single. So which group here right now? I wanted to share it to whom? I want to share it to Hyderabad sales group. See, the name appears over here. As many group as you create, all of them, all of the names of all group is going to be appeared over here. Very obviously. Select the Hyderabad sales group. What kind of access you want to give? I just wanted to give the read-only access, right? On the opportunity and the cases, there's nothing with the related. We are working on what? We are working on the account. So with this access, with this with this criteria and with this sharing rule, we are sharing the record. अब देखो यहाँ पे मैं 3 चीजें फिर से हाईलाइट कर रहा हूँ, आई वांट एवरी वन ऑफ यू टू राइट इट डाउन. If I am designing a sharing rule with the automated sharing, if I am sharing a record, ध्यान से सुन लो इस चीज को, ध्यान से सुन लो, लिख लो बेटर, ठीक है. With the automated sharing, if I am sharing a record, I must know 3 things. With the sharing rule, with the automated sharing, I am sharing a record. You know, with the automated sharing, with the sharing rules, if I am sharing a record, I must know 3 things. First, to whom record is to be shared. किसको शेयर करना है, किसको शेयर करना है, हैदराबाद सेल्स को शेयर. फर्स्ट थिंग आपको पता होना चाहिए. सेकंड, व्हाट इज द क्राइटेरिया ऑफ शेयरिंग. दिस इज द this, this and this. Second thing, what should you know? Prior to sharing, what are the conditions that, what are the things that you should know? First is what, to whom the record should be shared. ये पता होना चाहिए. If I know this, second is what is the criteria, what is the condition to be checked before sharing the record. And third, what is the level of access that should be given while sharing the record. These are the 3 things you should know before sharing a record. Prior to sharing a record, if you know all this, if you certainly know all of this, to whom the record should be shared, what are the conditions to be met, and what is the level of access to be given while sharing. If you know all this, you can go up with the sharing. With the automated sharing, you could share a record. Why I am telling you this? Because इसके बाद कुछ पढ़ना है जिसमें ये तीनों कंडीशंस पे बात होने वाली. ठीक है? Save it. It will recalculate. It will take some time. That's it. This is just an acknowledgement message that it's a warning message that one or more sharing rule has been initiated, and it's taking some time for that. What kind of sharing rule you initiated? You have written something inside the account sharing. What is C? This is the formula. If the account industry equals to banking and not all, account rating equals to hot and account active status is yes, and the account ownership is public. So if all these conditions are going to met, then only the record will be get shared to the Hyderabad shares group with the read-only access, otherwise not. Okay. So फिलहाल ये calculate कर रहा है, and you know with the account opportunity and the cases are also changed, right? So ये तीनों अभी calculation चल रहा है. Let me refresh and see whether the calculation has been done or not. Done. Okay, यहाँ से वो message हट गया. Now this means अब इसके बाद your account sharing rule has been activated. और अभी एक बहुत बड़ा change आया है. Let me show that. मुझे पता पहले बता देना चाहिए था यार. Sorry. Let me refresh this window. Let me go to all accounts. Okay. And if I open any account, or rather let me create a new account. See, right now I'm into what? I'm into this user training. यहाँ पर करो, कहीं भी करो, अभी कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अभी आपने account ऑपरेट किया, अभी आप किसी भी user पे, ठीक है. So let me create a new account. Account sharing rule test 1. Okay. Account sharing. I just have written one of the sharing rule. I written one of the sharing rule on the account object, and this is the test 1. This is the test 1. If I, with the sharing rule, if I wanted to share this, what are the conditions? If I wanted it to get shared to the Hyderabad sales group? First of all, the industry should be what? Industry should be banking. Okay. Industry should be what? Banking. Second condition, the rating should be hot. Okay. Rating should be hot. Third condition, active status should equals to yes. Active status should equals to yes. And the fourth condition, ownership will be public. Ownership public hona chahiye. I'm making it private. Okay? I'm making it private. That's it. I'm making it private. Okay? I'm making it private. A condition false here. Save it. A condition false here. Save it. Okay? Now let me check this. कि ये record किसको share हुआ? Sharing rules पे जाता हूँ. किसको share हुआ है? किसी को भी share नहीं हुआ. Why? Conditions false हो गई. Condition false हो गई. And that is why the record is not shared. रिकॉर्ड शेयर नहीं हुआ है, ठीक है, सिर्फ ट्रेनिंग बैच यूजर तक है, भाई इज द ओनर, इज द ओनर, चलो रिकॉर्ड शेयर नहीं हुआ है, नहीं हुआ, लेट मी मेक द एडिटिंग, एडिटिंग करते, ओनरशिप, रेटिंग हॉट, इंडस्ट्री बैंकिंग, एक्टिव स्टेटस यस, सेव, रिकॉर्ड इज बीइंग सेव और सेव, अब देखो किसको शेयर, किसको शेयर हुआ है, हैदराबाद सेल्स को, कैसे शेयर हुआ, ऑटोमेटिक, क्यों, but there is a sharing rule has been written to account, account sharing rule की मदद से this record is automatically shared, I have not shared this, मैंने शेयर नहीं करा इसको, कैसे जाता है वापस, I have not shared this, मैंने मैनुअल शेयरिंग किया क्या यहाँ पे, नहीं ऑब्वियसली नहीं किया, ठीक है, हाँ मैंने मैनुअल शेयरिंग किया, बिल्कुल भी नहीं, कंडीशंस वाज मेट, कंडीशन मेट हो गई, कंडीशन सारी मेट हो गई, क्या कंडीशंस थी, कंडीशन ये थी कि आप जब भी कोई अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड में किसी भी यूजर पे, अब किसी भी यूजर पे, अब डेवलपमेंट यूजर का भी अगर रिकॉर्ड ऐसा कुछ होगा तो वो भी शेयर्ड हो गया होगा, हम देखते हैं वहां पे अभी लॉगिन करके, डोंट वरी, तो अगर कोई भी अकाउंट में आप कोई भी रिकॉर्ड क्रिएट करो जिसकी इंडस्ट्री बैंकिंग है, जिसका रेटिंग हॉट है, जिसकी ओनरशिप पब्लिक है और जिसका एक्टिव स्टेटस यस है, ऐसे जितने भी अकाउंट रिकॉर्ड अब आप क्रिएट करोगे अकाउंट ऑब्जेक्ट में, ऐसे जितने भी रिकॉर्ड आप क्रिएट करोगे वो सारे रिकॉर्ड ऑटोमेटिकली शेयर हो जाएंगे किसको, हैदराबाद सेल्स ग्रुप, तो हैदराबाद सेल्स ग्रुप में मेंबर कौन कौन है, टेस्टिंग और कस्टमर, चलो अब चलते हैं दोनों पे और जाके क्रॉस वेरीफाई करते हैं कि हाँ वाकई में शेयर हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, तो मिला है कि नहीं मिला, वैसे कोई एम्बिग्यूटी नहीं है, लेकिन अपनी क्यूरियोसिटी अलग है, अपन जाएंगे कस्टमर यूजर पे लॉगिन मारा है अभी, अकाउंट्स में जाके देख, अकाउंट्स में देखता हूँ, ऑल अकाउंट्स पे ऑल अकाउंट्स में देखता हूँ तो जो रिकॉर्ड हमने बनाया अकाउंट शेयरिंग रूल वो तो आ ही गया इसको, साथ साथ में डेवलपमेंट यूजर का रिकॉर्ड नंबर 3 भी आ गया और रिकॉर्ड नंबर 4 तो अभी शेयर किया था मैंने, उसके अलावा एज कम्युनिकेशन आ गया, मर्क इनकॉर्पोरेशन आ गया, और ये सारे रिकॉर्ड आ गए, अब ये सारे रिकॉर्ड क्यों आए हैं, ये सारे रिकॉर्ड क्यों आए हैं, ये सब तो हमने शेयर किए नहीं, ये रिकॉर्ड इसलिए आए हैं, जैसे आपने 4 शेयर किया था, 3 कैसे आ गया, 3 इसलिए आया, 3 इसलिए आया क्योंकि 3 भी एक ऐसा अकाउंट है जिसकी इंडस्ट्री क्या है, बैंकिंग है, जिसका रेटिंग क्या है, हॉट है, जिसकी ओनरशिप है पब्लिक, और जिसका एक्टिव स्टेटस है यस, तो ऐसे जितने भी रिकॉर्ड होंगे अकाउंट ऑब्जेक्ट में, आपने शेयरिंग रूल काय पे लिखा है, अकाउंट ऑब्जेक्ट, शेयरिंग रूल हमेशा किस पे लिखते हैं, ऑब्जेक्ट पे, आपने शेयरिंग रूल लिखा है अकाउंट ऑब्जेक्ट पे, और ऐसे जितने भी रिकॉर्ड होंगे जिसकी यही कंडीशन होगी, मर्क इनकॉर्पोरेशन, इंडस्ट्री बैंकिंग, एक्टिव स्टेटस यस, रेटिंग हॉट, ओनरशिप पब्लिक, हो गया, शेयर्ड हो गया, समझ में आ रही बात, ऐसे जितने भी रिकॉर्ड होंगे तो ये कंडीशंस को फुलफिल करते होंगे, ऑल ऑफ दोस रिकॉर्ड आर नाउ शेयर्ड टू हैदराबाद सेल्स ग्रुप, एंड बिकॉज योर कस्टमर यूजर, और टेस्टिंग पे जाओगे तो यही चीज दिखेगी, देख लेंगे वहां भी देख लेंगे, ठीक है, तो these are now shared to the customer user because he is the member of this particular, he is the member of this group, and that is why the records are shared, that is why the records are shared, ये वो सारे के सारे रिकॉर्ड्स हैं जो कि ये कंडीशंस को फुलफिल करते हैं, कौन सी कंडीशंस है, अकाउंट की इंडस्ट्री है बैंकिंग, रेटिंग है हॉट, ओनरशिप है पब्लिक, और एक्टिव स्टेटस है यस, पूरे अकाउंट ऑब्जेक्ट में ये है वो रिकॉर्ड, फिर वो किसी भी यूजर ने बनाए, देखो यार ये किसका रिकॉर्ड है, ट्रेनिंग बैच यूजर का, ये 2 किसके हैं, डेवलपमेंट यूजर के, ये सब किसका है, ट्रेनिंग बैच यूजर, लेकिन सारे शेयर्ड हो, क्योंकि यहाँ पे बात ये नहीं है कि कौन सा यूजर ने बनाए, यूजर लेवल पे नई शेयरिंग चल रही है, वो मैनुअल शेयरिंग, ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग जो है वो ऑब्जेक्ट लेवल पे काम, मैनुअल शेयरिंग आप करोगे तो वो रिकॉर्ड लेवल पे काम, मैनुअल शेयरिंग जो होता है ना, समझो इस चीज को, मैनुअल शेयरिंग रिकॉर्ड लेवल पे काम करता है, एक एक रिकॉर्ड पकड़ पकड़ के अपन शेयर करते हैं यूजर को, पब्लिक ग्रुप को, जो भी है, और ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग काम करता है पूरे ऑब्जेक्ट, अब उसमें जितने भी रिकॉर्ड होंगे वो सारे आप वो कंडीशन डाल दो, वो सारे अपने आप शेयर हो, ये प्रूफ है उस चीज का, ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग काम करता है पूरे ऑब्जेक्ट पे, मैनुअल शेयरिंग काम करता है रिकॉर्ड लेवल, लिखो लिखो ये सारी चीजें लिखो, कितने वक्त तक याद रहेगी मुझे भरोसा नहीं है इस चीज पे, आपको कितना वक्त तक याद रहेगा, मैनुअल शेयरिंग काम करता है रिकॉर्ड लेवल पे, एक एक रिकॉर्ड पकड़ पकड़ के शेयर करते हैं, ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग काम करता है ऑब्जेक्ट लेवल, ऑब्जेक्ट लेवल, पूरे ऑब्जेक्ट पे एक ही बार में, ऑब्जेक्ट के अंदर 20 रिकॉर्ड है, 2000 रिकॉर्ड है, पूरे रिकॉर्ड पे एक ही बार में रूल लग जाता है, ये है ऑटोमेटेड। अब ये कस्टमर को है, यही सेम चीज अगर आप जाएं आप टेस्टिंग यूजर पे जाएं और वहां देखें तो भी आपको यही सिनेरियो नजर आएगा कि टेस्टिंग यूजर भी आपका जो है, तो देखिए ये ग्रुप का हिस्सा है हैदराबाद सेल्स ग्रुप, तो इसको भी सेम चीज है। ठीक है, ये था आपका ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग और मैनुअल शेयरिंग का कंसेप्ट। अब एक बहुत ही बड़ा क्वेश्चन, बहुत ही बड़ा क्वेश्चन, if I can share a record by using manual sharing, even by automated sharing, if I can share a record manually or automatically, with the sharing button, the sharing rules. If I could share a record manually, automatically, with the sharing button, the sharing rules, automated sharing rules होता है. If I could share a record manually and automatically, if I already have this provision, if I already have this provision, that means with the sharing button, I could share a record. With the sharing rules, by writing the sharing rules, even I could share it. Why and why? Why? What is the need to write to share a record with the Apex sharing? Why to go with triggers? Why to go with triggers? If I could share a record manually, I could share a record automatically. What is the reason? Why should I write down the triggers? Why to go for the Apex sharing? Why to go for the Apex sharing? What is the reason to go for the Apex sharing? Understood the question, everyone? This is the question they ask in the interview. They will ask you this in the interview. If you have manual sharing, automated sharing, what is the reason to go for the Apex sharing? What is the reason to go for the Apex sharing? I told you about three things. I told you about three things for the automated sharing. If in the automated sharing, whenever you go and write the sharing rule, what is the first condition? You should know yes. So if with the see, if I go with the automated sharing, I should know three things. I should know three things. We need to decide to whom the record is to be shared, what are the conditions to be checked, and what is the level of access. If you know all these three things, जो मैंने दो बार स्ट्रेस देके बढ़ाया, पहली बात किसको शेयर करना है, किसको शेयर करना है, कौन सी कंडीशंस चेक करना है, और क्या लेवल ऑफ एक्सेस देना है, रीड राइट वगैरह वगैरह. तो ये सारी चीजें आपको पहले से पता है. इफ यू नो एवरीथिंग, तो आप ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग, मैनुअल शेयरिंग जो भी चाहे कर. बट इफ यू डोंट नो दिस, for example, if the but if see, अगर आपको जैसे आपको अगर इन द ऑटोमेटेड शेयरिंग वी नीड टू सिलेक्ट द यूजर या पब्लिक ग्रुप जो भी है, to whom the record is to be shared, यानी जिसको शेयर करना है वो पहले से पता, शेयर इन द एडवांस, ये आपको पता है. इन द एडवांस मतलब पहले से पता है. बट यहाँ से पढ़ो, बट इफ द जो भी है यूजर पब्लिक ग्रुप आर सप्लाइड ड्यूरिंग द रन टाइम, आर सप्लाइड ड्यूरिंग द रन टाइम, मतलब इफ आई हैव सच काइंड ऑफ इंटरफेस, मान के चलो एक मेरा वेब पेज है, दिस इज माय वेब पेज, and here I have a label, enter the user to whom the record to be shared, और यहाँ पे रन टाइम पे यूजर यहाँ पे एंटर करेगा कासिम. ठीक है, यूजर यहाँ पे एंटर करेगा कासिम. सो जब जिस यूजर का नाम आया उसको शेयर करना. अब ये मुझे कब पता चलेगा? जब ये स्क्रिप्ट रन होगी, जब ये वेब पेज लोड होगा. ठीक है, ये इंटरफेस के थ्रू यूजर यहाँ पे एंटर करेगा, फिर मेरे को पता चलेगा. तो टू होम इफ क्या मतलब जब शेयर करना है किसको शेयर करना है, ये कब पता चल रहा है आपको? इफ यू नो दिस एट अ रन टाइम, तो आप पहले से कैसे अज्यूम करके बैठोगे कि वो आपको जोशी थोड़ी ना हो कि आपको पता है कि यूजर कासिम भी एंटर करने वाला है. कुछ भी एंटर कर सकता है, जितने यूजर की लिस्ट है उसमें से कुछ भी एंटर कर सकता है. तो अगर हमें ये रन टाइम पे पता चलेगा, तो रन टाइम पे पता चलेगा तो आप शेयरिंग रूल कहाँ से लिखोगे? पहली बात. दूसरी चीज, अगर मतलब पहली चीज क्या, किसको शेयर करना है, टू होम यू वांटेड टू शेयर, टू होम यू वांटेड टू शेयर. अगर आपको ये रन टाइम पता चले डायनामिक, देन देयर इज ओनली वन ऑप्शन, अपेक्स शेयरिंग. तब आप ट्रिगर ही से सॉल्व कर सकते. दूसरा, क्राइटेरिया, क्या क्राइटेरिया इंपोज करने हैं, क्या चेक करना है, व्हाट शुड द कंडीशन टू बी चेक, वो पहले से पता है तो शेयरिंग रूल लगाओ। अगर ये भी डायनामिकली रन टाइम पे आ रहा है देन गो विद द अपेक्स शेयरिंग। अगर ये भी चीज रन टाइम पे आ रही है या इनमें से कोई एक भी चीज अगर रन टाइम पे आ रही है, जरूरी नहीं तीनों बातें, ये तीनों चीजें पता होनी चाहिए पहले से। अगर इसमें से कोई एक भी एंटिटी डायनामिकली रन टाइम आ रही है तो आप शेयरिंग रूल लगा ही नहीं सकते। यू नीड टू गो विद द अपेक्स शेयरिंग, यू नीड टू गो विद द अपेक्स शेयरिंग। मतलब क्या क्या, अगर मुझे ये पता है कि यूजर किस यूजर को शेयर करना है तो ठीक है, अगर नहीं पता है डायनामिकली आ रही है तो अपेक्स शेयरिंग। क्या कंडीशंस चेक करनी है, अगर ये भी डायनामिकली आ रही है तो भी अपेक्स शेयरिंग। क्या लेवल ऑफ एक्सेस देना है, क्या लेवल ऑफ एक्सेस देना है, रीड ओनली या रीड राइट, वो भी डायनामिकली सप्लाई हो रहा है रन टाइम, तब भी क्या अपेक्स शेयरिंग, तब भी क्या अपेक्स शेयरिंग, तब भी अपेक्स शेयरिंग। ये है कंडीशंस, दीज आर द कंडीशंस कि अगर आप अपेक्स शेयरिंग पे जाएं तो कब जाएं। अगर ये तीनों चीजें या तीनों की तीनों चीजें पहले से पता है तो शेयरिंग रूल। तीनों में से एक भी ऐसी एंटिटी है जो डायनामिकली आ रही है तो आप नहीं जा सकते शेयरिंग रूल पे। आपके लिए एक ही ऑप्शन है, वो है अपेक्स शेयरिंग। बाय राइटिंग द ट्रिगर्स एंड मेकिंग द एसक्यूएल क्वेरीज, हम फायर करेंगे एसक्यूएल क्वेरी टू गेट द डेटा रन टाइम डायनामिकली, और वो उसको फिर वो डेटा जो हमको मिलेगा उसको हम अपनी इसके लिए जो होती है, मतलब इसके लिए एसक्यूएल पढ़ने वाले हो आपको डायनामिक एसक्यूएल करके, स्टैटिक एसक्यूएल डायनामिक एसक्यूएल करके कंसेप्ट है। उसमें से स्टैटिक तो नहीं लेकिन डायनामिक एसक्यूएल अपने को फायर करना पड़ता है। रन टाइम पे एंटिटी को कैप्चर करेंगे और बेस्ड ऑन दैट एंटिटी हम शेयरिंग रूल डिजाइन करें, तब आपको अपेक्स ट्रिगर्स लिखना। तो अभी भले वो नहीं लिखना आता लेकिन कंडीशंस तो आती हैं। फॉलोइंग आर द कंडीशंस टू गो, फॉलोइंग आर द रीजंस टू गो विद द अपेक्स शेयरिंग। अब बॉस ये पूरा याद हो जाना चाहिए, इससे अच्छा मेरे को नहीं लगता कि कोई बता सकता। तारीफ के हिसाब से नहीं बोल रहा मैं, आसानी के हिसाब से बोल रहा। भी ट्रेनिंग की है ना, तो हमने तो हैदराबाद से ट्रेनिंग की जहाँ सारी दुनिया के लोग आते हैं। अमीरपेट आप जाओगे तो अमीरपेट में आपको लगेगा कि ये क्या जगह है। अमीरपेट में आप एंटर करोगे तो आपको इतने सारे इंस्टीट्यूट दिखेंगे, इतने सारे इंस्टीट्यूट दिखेंगे, और ये हजारों की हजारों स्टूडेंट वहां पे आते हैं। सवेरे शाम नाश्तों के ठेलों पे ऐसी भीड़ लगी रहती है जैसे चंदा बट रहे हैं यहाँ पे, तो फ्री में नाश्ता कर, पैसा नहीं दे रहे हो आप, फ्री में मिल रहा है इसलिए इतने सारे लोग आते हैं। वहां जाके ट्रेनिंग की है तब भी ये चीजें नहीं पता है, तब भी ये चीजें नहीं पता। शॉर्ट में ट्रेनिंग होती है, लिमिटेड ट्रेनिंग होती है, पैसा भरपूर लेते हैं लेकिन कंटेंट उतना ही देते हैं जितना जरूरी है आपके सिलेक्शन में। उसके अलावा सारी चीजें आपको मैनेज करनी, अप टू 70% तक आपको रेडी कर, बाकी आपको रेडी करना है। आपके केस में तो मैं कह सकता हूँ कम से कम आप 90-95% तक रेडी हो। मैं कितनी असाइनमेंट्स देता हूँ आपको, 5 टॉपिक में से एक क्वेश्चन, 4 टॉपिक में एक क्वेश्चन, यही है मेरा रेशो आपको असाइनमेंट देने का। वो भी पता नहीं आप कर रहे हो कि नहीं कर रहे हो, वर्चुअल ट्रेनिंग है, मुझे नहीं पता आप कितने सिंसियर हो इस चीज के बारे में। ठीक है, तो इतना कंटेंट नहीं मिलता है, इसलिए अपनी ट्रेनिंग पे भरोसा रखो। अपनी ट्रेनिंग जो हो रही है बहुत अच्छे से चल रही है, इसी की बेसिस पे आप 2 साल 3 साल तो रीजन लिखते हो ना, आप इतना एक्सपीरियंस है क्यों है, क्योंकि इतनी बातें पढ़। चलो एक लास्ट टॉपिक देने तो मेरे को भले 9-12 हो रहा है, खत्म करना है मुझको आज ये, फिर मैं कल से क्यूज का कंसेप्ट स्टार्ट कर रहा हूँ। बहुत छोटी सी बात है, ओडब्ल्यूडी के सारे ऑप्शन देख लिए, ये सारी चीजें डिस्कस करी हमने प्राइवेट के अंदर। ओडब्ल्यूडी के 9 ऑप्शन होते हैं जिसमें से प्राइवेट मैंने कहा था सबसे बड़ा है, और बाकी के ऑप्शन उतने मायने नहीं रखते। आप चाहे पब्लिक रीड ओनली, पब्लिक रीड राइट या पब्लिक रीड राइट ट्रांसफर पे जाओ, तो ट्रांसफर से हम कल स्टार्ट करने वाले हैं। पब्लिक एक्सेस देने का मतलब ही होता है कि बाय डिफॉल्ट रिकॉर्ड इज विजिबल टू एवरीबॉडी। अब उसमें क्या देना है, रीड ओनली देना है या रीड राइट देना है, वो आपको। आप रीड ओनली एक्सेस दोगे तो सामने वाला क्या करेगा, सिर्फ यूज करेगा, रीड करेगा, एडिट नहीं कर सकता, डिलीट भी नहीं कर सकता। रीड राइट दोगे तो आप रीडिंग भी करेगा, वो राइटिंग भी कर सकता है, ठीक है, वो राइटिंग भी कर सकता है, लेकिन डिलीट दोनों सूरतों में नहीं कर सकता। यहाँ पे शेयरिंग का कोई कंसेप्ट नहीं है। और रीड राइट ट्रांसफर दोगे तो वो रीडिंग भी करेगा, राइटिंग भी करेगा और ट्रांसफर भी कर सकता है। ठीक है, वो रीडिंग भी कर सकता है, राइटिंग भी कर सकता है, ट्रांसफर भी कर सकता है। तो आप कौन सी लेवल ऑफ एक्सेस देते हो उस पर डिपेंड करता है कि पब्लिक मतलब पहली बात तो रिकॉर्ड सभी को विजिबल है, विजिबल सबको है। अब उसमें अपन क्या कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं, रीड ओनली, रीड राइट या रीड राइट ट्रांसफर, ये है अलग 3 ऑप्शन। ठीक है, तो ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, आप इसकी थ्योरी एक बार पढ़ के समझ सकते हैं। ये ओडब्ल्यूडी आज खत्म होता है, कल से मैं स्टार्ट करने वाला हूँ क्यूज। ठीक है, कल से मैं स्टार्ट करने वाला हूँ क्यू, और इस वीक में आपकी क्लास फ्राइडे सैटरडे संडे तक पूरा चलेगी, तब तक जब तक मैं ये खत्म नहीं करता। तो सिक्योरिटी मतलब पूरा यानी एडमिन ट्रेनिंग इस वीक में एनी हाउ खत्म करेंगे अपन, तो सैटरडे और संडे भी आपकी क्लास रहेगी। टाइमिंग थोड़ा सा ऊपर नीचे करूंगा मैं, बिकॉज मेरी सैटरडे 2 बैचेस रहती है, सैटरडे संडे, लेकिन मैं टाइम दूंगा आपको अपने हिसाब से, और आपको ज्वाइन करना पड़ेगा। So let me first stop the record.